Hi, how are you doing? I wanted to tell you about the other day I went with Bruce because there's meaning behind my madness. Okay, well, I'm telling you this. I'm not wasting your time, hopefully. There's been a couple of times this week where I went with Bruce because it's his birthday, and what we love more than anything is being out in nature, hiking, seeing wild animals. And there's been two occasions where we have just been somewhere, and I was so fascinated by how calm I felt. I thought, oh my God, this type of nature, this wild nature, the Danish coast, just makes me feel so calm. And the first one was I noticed I didn't feel the need to rush back to make dinner. I had kind of like prepped food for his birthday, and I didn't feel like there was any rush to go back, which was weird for me. And then yesterday we went to this teeny weeny little island on a ferry, and we just sat on this big stone, and I was looking in the water and looking at the algae and the plants. And we were and the more we sat still there, little shrimps came out in the clear water, and you could see little shrimps just swimming around. And we had some binoculars with us, and I got him to set them so you could look into the water, which I've never done. And it was just looking so weird with the shrimps. It looked like they were flying in between the plants. It looked like the plant. Anyway, it was just like a psychedelic experience. And we started talking about how when we're kids, like toddlers, if you take a toddler to the beach, or when you were a toddler and you would just squat down and you would look at the stones, and everything was just like you were so marveling at everything and how amazing everything was on the colors, and oh, now my hand is wet, and wow, there's something moving. And how this ability to marvel at nature and the little things just gets chipped away all the time by our parents, by society, education, work. Then your mom is like, come on, we need to go, move on, we need to get home, we need to do this. And how that's so ingrained in us. And the struggle I've had through my burnout and way before my burnout to be able to enjoy life and to slow down and be in the now. And it's not until after, and I've said this before, when I lost the knot in my stomach for a minute, when I suddenly felt I could breathe freely, when I didn't feel the rush, that's when I noticed how much I had been in burnout and how anxious I had been and how much of in a rush I had been. And a lot of the people that come to me for coaching are way beyond the past the point of burnout. We're talking almost depression and anxiety, panic attacks, having to take sick leave. And I wanted to share with you, like, let me see. So you don't have to wait until you miraculously get better if you get to that point to realize that you weren't burnout, because you can't really get better if you don't handle it. You can't really. It's like trying to treat a dog when you haven't diagnosed it. You need to find out that you are in burnout, and then you can do something about it. So I know that a lot of you out there that might feel a bit overwhelmed, that might feel, "Oh, I'm not sure what med is for me," and you might be going into actually being in burnout like I was, and I didn't know it. So I wanted to give you, now that I have come to the other side and know what burnout for sure isn't, I can tell you the opposite of what I'm experiencing now. So, for example, the other day, yesterday, when I was sitting on this stone on the beach looking at shrimp swimming around for no reason, I was not struggling with that. I could sit without doing anything. As opposed to when I was in burnout, I would have been running through my to-do list in my brain. For me, in order to not do anything and not be stressed out about it, I would have to be very, very, very sick. Like full pharyngitis, no voice, high fever, or I can't even say gastroenteritis because I have worked through a gastroenteritis, running out through consultations to go to the loo and vomit. It was not pretty. I don't know why I did that. It's when you're in burnout, you just don't respect yourself and you just think everything is more important than you. So you keep doing these things. But so my first question to you that so you can try and check out if you're in burnout is, do you struggle to just be without doing anything? Can you just sit with no purpose? Does everything have to have a purpose? What I mean is, if you So my clients, for example, I will say, have you found, now you maybe have found a way to get your time down so you're not working like a maniac anymore? Are you starting to do stuff you enjoy again? And then what my clients tend to say is, oh yeah, because now I'm doing fitness because we have to be in shape, right? Or we are doing, for example, playing tennis because you want to be in shape again. Just always somehow have a purpose behind it. Can you just be creative and just sit and doodle? Or can you do work in the garden that maybe you is not super purposeful, but it's just really nice to do? Or do you always like, if you have to go for a walk, then it's because you want to get in shape and you know that good air is good for me and this is why I have to do it. And it's also good to meet my friends because socializing is good. Like, is there always a purpose behind everything you do? Is there always some sort of goal behind it? That is one of the signs of burnout, that you're not able to being in the now and just enjoying without any purpose to it. Another thing is when you're in conversations that I notice that I still do sometimes because my brain is a bit crazy, and it could be that your brain is hyperactive, ADHD or something. But I do know that when I am very stressed out and when I was a burnout, I lose my train of thought. So I will start talking and then my brain will interrupt itself mid-sentence because it's jumped to the next thing on my to-do list. So I forget what I was saying and I'm like, oh, by the way, and then I forget what I was talking about when I come back to it. So you kind of lose in the conversation, you will lose the train of thought you had because you can't focus on one thing. And do you always have in your brain a to-do list just running? You can literally never see the end of it. There's never an end to it. Or maybe you think there's an end to it and you think once I finish XYZ, A, B, C, D, E, then I will feel better. Then I can finally relax. But deep down, you actually know that that's never going to happen because you will just keep adding things to it or you will let other people add things to your to-do list. And this ties also into, are you always thinking of the next thing you need to do? So coming back to when I went walking with Bruce, and we were walking on these cliffs, and I suddenly realized I wasn't in any rush to go back. I was just standing there looking at the waves. It was one of the few times where my brain doesn't go to, but what's the next thing? What's the next thing we need to do? What's the next thing we need to do? So if you're always thinking of the next thing you need to do or the next things you need to do, that can be a sign of burnout as well. Okay, big sign on 5 on my list. People annoy you, even your loved ones. I think we can all have a bad day, especially if you're a woman, our cycle up and down and such, or if you're tired or you just had a bad day at work. We can all have a bad day and people can annoy us. But if you find that your kids, even your pets sometimes, your partners, your clients, your coworkers, everybody are just annoying you all the time. You just like, they're just grinding on you. That is a sure sign of burnout. When all the clients seem to be against you, when your kid is just seems to be demanding all the time, your partner doesn't get you, doesn't understand you, doesn't do enough at home. Your parents are just, they don't get you either and they don't help out enough. When everybody seems to be in the world to annoy you, that is a sign of burnout. Unless it's just like one day a month, then you don't need to worry about it. When you can't remember the last time you took a deep breath. And this was me, I think, a year and a half after I started coming into coaching. Bear in mind, when I started this work, I didn't realize I was in burnout. I just wanted to learn tools to handle better being a mom and just knowing what to do with my life. I actually didn't realize that I was in burnout until a year and a half in when I suddenly remember turning around, looking at Bruce and saying, oh my God, the knot in my stomach has gone and I can breathe freely. So what I hadn't realized, because it had crept up on me so slowly, it's like when something happens really, really slowly, like, how to boil a frog. Don't boil a frog, it's mean, but, slowly. So I hadn't noticed it, but I had felt like I had two, what do you call it? Like the big barrels have metal bands around them. So I felt like I was a barrel and I had a metal band like tied around my chest. So I had only been able to take shallow, short breaths for seemed like since forever. And I remember the day that the knot in my stomach just dropped out of nowhere, just went. And I could take this deep breath and my chest just felt so free. And if you can't remember the last time you were able to do that, that is probably a sign of burnout, that you're in chronic stress and anxiety. Because this is one of the tools we use to get out of it is taking deep breaths. And if you haven't been able to do that for a while, then it's a sure sign that your nervous system, your sympathetic nervous system is triggered, probably like on an ongoing basis, because you are just constantly clenching and kind of like protecting yourself. And the only way to get out of that is to realize you're doing it, notice it, and start taking deep breaths again. Another thing, do you talk fast or do you forget words? This is something I tend to do anyway but I don't do it all the time now. So, and I talked about it, I think, on the last podcast when I start talking really fast or I forget words. It's because my brain is trying to work really fast because there's so much to do. I have so much I need to do. I will never finish it. I need to get finished. So my brain is trying to like make me talk even faster than it's humanly possible. And another one, which annoys Bruce immensely, is finishing other people's sentences because you assume you already know what you're going to say. You know, we have really, as vets, we have really efficient brains. We problem analyze very quickly. So when people start to say something, our brain will assume and it will categorize whatever's being said and it'll be like, I know what this is. And you will tend to finish sentences for others just to move along because maybe they're not speaking fast enough for you. You just want to let them know, I know this. So can we just move on to what it is you want to say? What is it you want? You know, so finish other people's sentences, which is incredibly rude. And I still do it sometimes when I'm stressed or I get too excited. But if it's something you do on a chronic basis, you want to have a look at that. The obvious one, if you're in burnout, do you struggle to sleep? There can be other causes for not sleeping well. I know all about this because Bruce suffers from insomnia since he's 2 years old. And I have been buying all the books on the market. I have listened to all the podcasts. I have bought everything from melatonin to all the herbal remedies to meditation, candles, lavender oil, you name it. And also I know now because I'm in perimenopause that that's times in our lives, like in perimenopause, menopause, that we can struggle to sleep. So there is obviously a lot of causes of insomnia, of being unable to sleep. But I think you know the difference because when you're struggling to sleep because of burnout, it's your thought spinning that is stopping you. So you either, in my case, I would go to sleep because I tend to read some fantasy or something non-related to my real stressful life. And then I will drop off, but then I will wake up. I'll wake up and it's like, oh shit, did I do this? Did I call this person? Did I prescribe that right? And my brain will sometimes make up these stories about something that it assumes I've done wrong, which is not even true. And I will just spin in that or worrying about a complaint, you know. So your brain cannot stop and it will try to come up with ideas to help you or get out of a problem or just simply spinning and the same issue, the same situation you worry about. And that is the cause of you not sleeping. So if you notice yourself doing that, then you're likely in burnout. And when was the last time you did something for fun? And when did you do something for fun and actually enjoy it? Because I remember when I was overworking, especially with my own business, and I was working so many hours, I kind of have to keep up like a pretend of a normal life. And obviously, I had small kids, so I needed to do fun stuff with them. I couldn't just like dress them, put them to bed, feed them, and then, you know, next day the same. We kind of had to do something fun together because I was a mom, but I didn't really feel like it. It was just something going through the motions. And I would back then, what is that again now? So Olivia's 22. So I don't think I had a phone on me all the time like I would have now, like I imagine a lot of you have now. I don't think mobile phones were that 20 years ago, but I definitely would have been on it all the time. And if not, then I would be thinking about the next thing I had to do all the time, or analyzing something, or maybe even scribbling something down in a notebook that I would have to remember, or I could even call somebody and ask them about something or call the clinic to make sure everything was okay. And I wouldn't fully allow myself to have fun because at that point I was in such burnout. Let me see how do I explain this? I don't sound like a complete weirdo, but I felt really responsible for everybody's feelings at that point. I still didn't know that other people's feelings and anybody else's in my life's well-being didn't rely on me, that it wasn't my responsibility. So if I had cases that were really sad or that had gone wrong or really upsetting cases with like a terrible trauma, a young dog getting killed or a cat being pulled, like all these cases are not really nice and the owners are really upset. I will keep that sadness inside me, and it made me feel like I wasn't, it wasn't appropriate to have fun and really let go and completely relax because there were all these horrible things going on with people and their pets that I somehow wasn't care of. So I couldn't switch off basically. And that's a long-winded version of it, but it was because I felt I was so responsible for everybody else. So how did I dare to have fun when someone else was grieving and having a hard time? Or how did I dare to enjoy myself when I have maybe made a mistake this week that somebody got really mad about or really upset about? Obviously, time management when you're in burnout is completely out of whack because we tend to not set any limits, we don't set any boundaries. And also, when we're doing our planning, we tend to not account for buffer time because we want to jam so much into the day because we are convinced we have to do everything and that everything has to be done a certain way. Then, for example, I used to not set buffer time off to pick up my kids. Like in my world, there would be this magic way where I could leave work at 2 and at 2 I pick up my kids, not realizing that I have to go and get my car and drive to unpack and then go and pick them up. So I was always running behind and I was always feeling so inadequate and so useless and so a terrible mom and also a terrible employee or a terrible when I had my clinics, a terrible clinic owner because I was just always late because I was trying to jam so much in. It didn't even occur to me that I needed to set off time for things that could go wrong, when the car doesn't start or now the kid has vomited and now you need to change our clothes. I didn't have any buffer time for anything. So if you're always running late or you're always like just in time for stuff, look at if you're forgetting to buffer between times and have a look at why that might be. And the last one, I was gonna put in 10, and I'm kind of at number 11 now, I think, is have your loved ones ask you to take it easy? Have they said their word about you? Have they just little comments like, can you put the phone down? Or why are you late again? Or you're never home for dinner? Or just little comments that really annoy you and really get your defenses up because how dare they judge you and criticize you? I used to do that, and now looking back, I feel so bad about it. But they are actually the ones that love you, and they're the ones that try to help you set boundaries. They try to help you realize that you are on a downward slope and you're going fast. And we don't want to see it because when you're in burnout, you have a very warped perspective of where you're at, what you're doing, and you don't really want to admit there's anything wrong. So you will notice yourself getting very defensive when people say these things. And it can be incredibly hard to have someone say something like that to you. I notice that when I'm saying this, I'm like clenching my hands because I feel a bit ashamed about not realizing it and feeling judgmental and feeling annoyed at the people that love me, like my mom, like my daughters, like my ex-husband, like Bruce, that would say little things to me that should have rung an alarm bell in my brain that something wasn't right and I should slow down. But I did the opposite. I pushed them away and I got defensive because when you're in burnout, you're just not yourself. You're running on this adrenaline. And when you feel like you're running on a treadmill with a lion behind you, you don't have time to listen to loving messages from your loved ones. So have a little think about this. Maybe if you're driving right now or doing something when you're listening to the podcast, maybe re-listen again and re-listen and write down which ones you might identify with. So it was supposed to be 10, it's actually 11 points. And if you have, I would say, 4 or 5 of them already, you might want to have a look at your life. You might maybe ask your loved ones, what do they think? Have a look at the hours you work. Get your facts right. How many hours do you actually are you actually away from home between driving and shopping and working? Are you having enough time for yourself? Look at your hobbies. Are you still doing them? Are you still doing the creative stuff you used to do? Are you still like drawing, painting, playing the guitar, playing the piano, whatever you used to do before you got busy? Are you still enjoying your job? Are you looking forward to Mondays? Are you dreading Mondays like, you're going to be dragged through fire? Have a little look and have a little assessment of your life if you feel that a lot of these things are said resonating with you. And then if you come to, oh shit, it very much looks like I am in burnout, then accept it. That's just happens to a lot of us. Don't make it mean anything bad about you and start working on it. Start finding out what's the first little step I want to do to feel better. Can I do some meditation? Do I want to do some breath work just to get my nervous system down? Do I want to listen to the rest of Gunila podcast and get her PDF? Do you want any free help from me? Or do you want any coaching? Do you want to reach out for a free consult with me? Or do you want to maybe buy some books that can help you look at where you are at, or any other podcast or any other help you can feel would be good for you? Are you that bad that you should actually consider taking sick leave right now just to have some time out for yourself? Can you look at your schedule? Can you ask your clinic to work less hours? Can you maybe ask your family for some support at home so you don't have to be so stressed all the time? Um, or if you are just on the edge now and you are like, oh shit, there's something really wrong with me, and you're really worried, ring some of the lines that are the phone lines that are to help us. There's not one more vet organization, there's vet life, there's so much help out there. You can look on social media, you can reach out to me anytime. If you're in burnout, don't let it keep happening. Being aware of it, awake to it, is the first step, and realizing it and admitting it to oneself and maybe to one's loved ones. I'm in burnout. I think I need some help. That is an amazing thing. That is like discovering you got diabetes after feeling like shit forever, drinking like a maniac, never feel full, peeing everywhere. And now somebody tells you got diabetes. Now you can get help. You can get, you have a diagnosis. Now you can get treatment, right? So burnout is something you need to be aware of if you have it, and you should definitely seek help for it. And it's not a bad thing to be aware of. So don't push it away. Don't ignore it. Get some help. And maybe next year you'll be the one, sitting on a beach, staring down at shrimps, staring into a sunset, and just be completely chill. Or less than a year. I took a bit long because I'd been in it for a long time, but that's not necessarily, it's not like proportional. It doesn't have to be that way. I hope this is helpful. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, write a review. If you're watching on YouTube, please like it, follow me, and write a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And remember, if anything resonated, but you want a bit more information or you have some questions, just type them out, send them to me, and I'll do an episode on it for you, obviously anonymous. All right. Take care. Have a lovely week. Bye.